Hello there, and welcome back to Winning the Division, episode number 7. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and hosting with me is former NFL tight end Ben Troupe of the Raiders, Titans, and Bucks. And it is already in the end of week number 5 here in the NFL 2024 season. Continue to like, rate, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Partnerships coming out soon. A lot of good things in store for you guys. Just keep watching, keep viewing. We love doing this for you guys. And as we reminded you last week at the top of the show, if you know anyone or feel inclined to give from the Hurricane Helene efforts, you can go to redcross.org/NFL where you can see the efforts that the NFL is doing for Hurricane Helene with the Red Cross. Well, Ben, let's get into it. Week 5 ending in Kansas City tonight with New Orleans and Kansas City. Chiefs currently up 7-0 in that game. But let's get to, first off, our players and not so players of the week. And I'm going to start in your bread and basket wheelhouse. Mr. Kirk O'Chains, Mr. Kirk Cousins is my player of the week. I mean, he threw for 5 football fields, Ben. 5 football fields. That is a lot of football fields. 509 yards. He was 4 touchdowns, 42 of 58. The guy was surgical. Now, you could make an argument the Bucs should have won that game, but Kirko did what he had to do to come home with the victory, and he is my player of the week. My not-so player of the week belongs to this is kind of a wide variety group, but I'm just going to say the Giants special teams this week. I know the Giants won the game, but they're down there on the 1-yard line, and you had to score there. You don't, and then you allow a 102-yard fumble return for a touchdown. I know it was kind of a wrong place at the wrong time, but you got to react faster than that. You can't allow someone to go 102 yards the other way when you're knocking on the doorstep. So the New York Giants did get the win, though, so they were able to not make that play count against them ultimately at the end of the day. But the New York Giants defense/special teams was my not-so player of the week in regards to that play.
Oh man, listen. Number one, I mean, obviously, I didn't want to do the homer thing and do my favorite cousin Kirk. He did go off though. I mean, and like I said, I don't know what's going on. But I will say I love your player. My players of the week are Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Caleb Williams. Here's the thing. All these guys are rookie quarterbacks. All these guys. Now, Jaden Daniels is playing the best. Bo Nix is not that far away and how well he's playing. And Caleb Williams, he's starting to find his way. Jaden Daniels looks like a clear-cut rookie of the year. Some even got him in a dark horse MVP if he keeps playing.
Not yet.
That horse is dark, extremely dark, like dark chocolate horse. But I just like the fact that they're keeping their teams out of harm's way. They're keeping them, Jaden Daniels is instant offense. Bo Nix got to call out the longest plays ever because Sean Payton is his head coach. And Caleb Williams has all the pressure in the world on him because people expecting him not only being the first 4,000-yard passer, which I'm still not understand why that matters in Chicago Bears history, but he's actually playing well. So I want to give credit to those rookie quarterbacks because at first, Ryan, we were trying to see who's going to get their first touchdown pass, let alone win a game. Now these guys are getting more into the offense. I mean, Scary Terry up there with the Commanders. He's loving Jaden Daniels right now. Caleb Williams is starting to find his rhythm. You see what he did with DJ Moore. Obviously going, playing against his old, Carolina Panthers, what he was able to do. And then I think for a guy like Bo Nix, no one expects the Broncos to even be relevant, let alone winning games, and they're winning games. Now, we go from the players of the week to the not-so-player of the week. My not-so-player of the week this week is George Pickens for the Steelers. Okay, if you watched the game last night, right, didn't really have a good game, right? Was seen pouting on the sideline before halftime, but the very last play of the game, right? George Pickens got the ball. I mean, Justin Fields throws the ball to George Pickens. Obviously, they got to do the hook and lateral. George Pickens not only throws it backwards, he throws it to an O-lineman. So you throw it to an O-lineman, and you expect this O-lineman to get it to another player. But this is why it's really my not so player. George Pickens, in Pittsburgh, they lose the game. Right? DB from Dallas runs up to him, talks a little trash to him. He won the game. He pulls him down by his face mask. That's a coward move, by the way. Right? And you could tell, like, George Pickens, now George Pickens, he liked that. The guy that, went to the University of Georgia. Just type in George Pickens versus Georgia Tech to let you know the type of receiver he is. He won't smoke. But it was a coward move because at the end of the day, his stat sheet read 3 for 26. And I'm talking about 3 catches for 26 yards. And I think the thing about George Pickens is an incredible talent. He is a talented wide receiver. He is that. But his attitude is going to be one of those things, Smitty, that sometimes if my play doesn't supersede my attitude, because the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good team. They're a great franchise. Mike Tomlin and what he's doing and what he's never had to lose a season. But what I didn't like about it was, it's like sour grapes. So you mad because you lost, so you going to pull me down by my face mask? Number one, he's going to get fined. If he doesn't get suspended. Mike Tomlin said the reason why he wasn't playing as much yesterday because he didn't give them quality snaps. They showed a play with George Pickens. He just trotted off the ball. He didn't run a route. He just trotted off the ball. And like I said, I love fiery receivers. Steve Smith Sr., T.O., Dez Bryant. I love fiery receivers. I love guys, that want the ball. But your production got to match your fieriness. I think sometimes for George Pickens, the emotions of the game and his emotions itself get the best of him. It got the best of him yesterday. And like I said, that's not the first time that's happened to him. But, hey, man, 3 catches, 26 yards. You shouldn't be pulling people's face masks. And people say, just give him the ball, just give him the ball. He got an eye black the other day. His eye black says, always effing open. That's what his eye black said. That's what it read. And I love that. I want a receiver that want the ball, but like I said, he is my not, and my unit, the Jets O-line. Once again, not only is the Jets O-line bad in the States, they take that nonsense across overseas. Now
both sides of the Atlantic, they're bad. Exactly.
But here's the thing, Smitty. Now, half of it is the offensive line, and half of it is the fact that, Aaron Rodgers is 41. Like, people he's on the ground going, that the back of the plane for the Jets smelled like icy hot Bengay in ice. Even though ice don't have a smell. Because I'm telling you, some of that is just the fact that Aaron Rodgers can throw the football, but his bones are 41 years old. His hips, 41. Knees, 41. So he's on the ground half because he's getting hit and half because he's, seasoned. I don't want to call him old, but yeah, that's O-line. Not so player of the week with it as a group. George Pickens, and like I say, players of the week, Jaden Daniels, 2nd overall pick. Bo Nix, 1st round pick, and Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. Shout out to them rookie quarterbacks, not only getting it done, but propelling their teams. I think in the last 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, they're 8-1 as a group. They've only lost 1 game as a group. Shout out to them rookies.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of those games of week number 5. I'm not going to necessarily go game by game like we've done in the past, but I'm going to start just saying games that stuck out to you. What are some results that stuck out to you? I'll let you go first and kind of highlight players specifically or games that you thought were good results, and then I'll pick up after you're done. So I'll go ahead and lay it on us. What are some games that stuck out?
The number one game that stuck out to me, seriously, well, there are 3. There were 3 that really, really stuck out. Number 1, Arizona, San Francisco. Let me tell you something.
Talk about it.
Kyler Murray, a 50-yard rushing touchdown. They came back from behind. And for those of you saying, well, they down some players. They had George Kittle. They had Ayuk. They had Debo. They had Purdy. They had Fred Warner. And they lost.
And they lost their kicker. Now, they did lose their kicker.
But here's the thing, Smitty, and I'm going to keep saying it every week. Christian McCaffrey means that much to that offense, that much to that team, because he makes it so that, run the football, catch the football, and if he's on the field, he scares a defensive coordinator to death. He's like, dude, you got to watch out for what this guy's going to do. And when he's not there, Brandon Ayuk earned his paycheck on Sunday. Debo Samuels, to me, is a good player, not a great player. He had a great year. And then he got that big money. But I think he's a player that could definitely – he benefits from those around him. But I give a lot of credit to that Arizona defense. Buda Baker still out there making plays. And
unless he's getting stiff armed.
Unless he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he said he ain't scared of nobody. But I appreciate Kyler Murray just orchestrating a nice game, a nice comeback. My second game is what you mentioned earlier. My Falcons, and I think the thing about the Falcons and Tampa Bay was Tampa kind of, I don't want to say Tampa gave the game away, but they weren't playing to win like Atlanta was.
I'll say it. They gave the game away.
Okay, well, you said it. And the thing about Atlanta Falcons, the thing about the Falcons that's the most intriguing is not the fact that my favorite cousin Kirk went out there for 5 football fields. Atlanta's defense is good. No, they are good. They held Kansas City to 22 points. Should have won that game. That wasn't their fault. That's bad play calling. But here's the thing about Atlanta that's most intriguing. Bijan Robinson hasn't really got his rhythm yet in the offense. Obviously, the backup, Tyler, has obviously been playing better. But when you give Kirk a chance to just go out there and, just throw it around the yard, it was crazy. Shout out to my man Hodge. I said, listen, man, with the showstopper, just give me one catch. I take it to the house. Game over. But that was a really, really good game, and a game that was kind of a head scratcher to me. The Giants and the freaking Seahawks. Here's the thing about the Giants. Number one, okay, the Giants, they got 2 sides. They got Kayvon Thibodeau. They got Brian Burns at the defense. Brian Burns has looked good the last couple of weeks, by the way.
He's finally earning that $30 million.
Yeah, and I think the thing, Daniel Jones is okay. I don't want to call him bad. He's not good. Daniel Jones is like a lukewarm, temperature. He's not hot or cold. He's just right there in the middle. But these Seahawks are kind of like confusing because because when we expect the Seahawks to win, they don't. When we expect them to play well, they don't. And I thought that the Seahawks were going to add another one to the win column. The Giants go out there and get a big win, and I thought it was, it was underwhelming. But I got to give credit when credit to the G-Man went out there and got it done. But in my last game, I do think that the Cincinnati Bengals are the best 1-4 team in the world. Like I'm not getting why they're not getting wins. Joe Burrow be lighting it up. I think that Joe Burrow and company brought out the best in the Ravens. I think because I'm gonna keep saying this about Lamar Jackson. Lamar says, "Listen, there's one quarterback that I can't win against, and he plays in Kansas City. I could beat the one in Cincinnati. I could beat the one in Buffalo. I could beat the one in LA. And we talking about the Chargers, not the Rams. And I think when you have that balance of giving the ball, listen, you don't want to tackle Derrick Henry. Shout out to Derrick Henry, 10,000 yards, 100 rushing touchdowns. I think only 5 running backs have done that. So shout out to him. But I really, really liked the back and forth. I really, really liked that they had to. Lamar Jackson showed why he is who he is. That one play he had when he was on the side, that Houdini stuff. That stuff is incredible just to watch because he's going up against the best players in the world. Those are grown men, professional athletes he's going up against. He's just making them. But I did think it was a great game. And those are the ones that stood out to me. I could have went any way as far as like the standout games because so many games were good and not so much. But shout out to Kyler Murray, who's still telling everybody I'm still a franchise quarterback. Shout out to Lamar Jackson, and company. Shout out to my cousin Kirk and Geno Smith and company. What are y'all doing? Losing to the G-Man. Shout out to Daniel Jones and Coach DeBow and all those guys getting that done.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention it, but since you did mention it, I'll just finish it off. Yeah, it looked like the Ravens-Bengals. Obviously, it's already a good rivalry in the AFC North. Bengals, like you said, are 1-4, but I think they're going to get it corrected. I really do. Do I think they're going to get it corrected enough in time for the playoffs after starting 1-4? That remains to be seen. But I think they'll be up there in contention to at least to make playoffs. But that game was probably the best finish, second to best finish in my opinion, this whole week because it looked like the Bengals were going to win, and then it looked like the Ravens took it right back from him, and Lamar, they're going and doing their thing, and then fumble, and then the Bengals and they take it, and it's little microcosms of mistakes in the NFL is the difference in some of these games. This is not college. This is not 40-point spreads. This is I don't think our listeners know this. The ones who aren't as football savvy. 7.5 point spread is a large spread in the NFL.
Yes. Yes.
7 points. I know people are going to say I'm crazy. That is a very large spread in the NFL. These teams, I mean, you saw when the Patriots played. I forget who they played earlier in the season, but they played somebody pretty good. Hold on, I'll tell you in 5 seconds here. The Patriots earlier in the season, they played the 49ers. Now that game was 30-13, but they were in that game for at least the first half and into the third quarter. I mean, there's not a lot that separate these teams. And then they beat Cincinnati week 1 with Joe Burrow. So you just never know in the NFL. It really is any given Sunday. So yeah, shout out to Lamar Jackson getting it done. Derrick Henry on my fantasy team benefiting my standings right now in my league, helping me out there. Let's talk about the Houston Texans and the Buffalo Bills. That game was fantastic. Sean McDermott, former Panther, DC, already came out and said he kind of botched the game. He kind of admitted he should have did a little better play calling there at the end. Punt, 3 straight Josh Allen passes leads to a punt from the end zone, back to the end zone rather, and then a 59-yard field goal by Kai Fairburn, who he drills, by the way. That would have been good from 65. And they put that in, and the Texans get the victory to move to 4-1 on the season. Bills are going to be fine, but I just thought McDermott owned that play calling there at the end. But they had a chance to go to overtime. Obviously, that did not happen. Let's talk about the Packers-Rams. I mean, Jordan Love. Did you see the play that Jordan Love out of the back of the end zone?
When I saw it, I said, Jordan Love, stop hanging out with Will Levis. Like, listen, I don't. The one thing about that, the one thing that bothers me about plays like that, Smitty, is it's like these quarterbacks are inventing things. We've seen enough football to know, hey, dude, we've seen it all, done it all. It's like, dude, look. Just throw it away. Don't. Sometimes, and yes, I've never played quarterback. I can only imagine what they see. As far as how fast things are happening and moving. But number one, Jordan Love showed his poise. Coming back from that, still getting the win, and obviously still playing well. Because a lot of players, they're going to tank or something like that because there are interceptions for touchdowns, and then there's that. Like, dude, what? It's like you saying, Jordan, like, what are you? There shouldn't be a lot. Yes, when you are a fan of football, definitely when you are looking at your team, you use the words, what are you doing a lot? Or what are we doing? Or what are they doing? Or what is going on? That we probably say that a lot. That was a what in the world are you doing, Jordan Love moment. I'm like, because once again, I'm a Titans fan, so I see Will Levis. At least I ain't seen him in a while. I don't know, but I just
they're going to buy this week.
Yeah. I just think that Jordan Love, number one, I'm happy that he came back from that injury from the first game. And he's a guy that he can make every throw. And when he's on his game, I don't know if he's a top 5 quarterback or maybe like top 10, top 15, definitely. But yeah, that was such a, they call him bang. That was not a bang play. That was a dumb play. Listen, I'm not calling the player dumb. I'm calling the action dumb. I'm calling the fact that, the deed that was dumb. But it was early. He was able to get back. They was able to win the game. But when you saw that, though, Smitty, are you saying to yourself, what? Like, what are these quarterbacks doing? I don't want to put it on all quarterbacks.
It was a crazy play for sure. I was like, what kind of throw was that? That was very weird. And thankfully, it did not get picked off for Jordan Love for that pick 6. Or yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Yeah, that was pick 6. Yeah. And that's the thing about interceptions. You're going to throw interceptions. But when it's that type of interception, you like, dude, like, come on, man, like, let's be better than that, people. We're better than that. Come on.
Yeah. So the Rams, we'll get into my Panthers here in a second, but the Rams have the opposite problem of the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are all beat up on defense. Their offense is decent depending on who we play. Rams have the opposite problem. They are beat the heck up on offense, save Matthew Stafford and Kyren Williams, and their defense is still not that great, but it's more healthier than the offense at this current time. And the Rams, I don't think they're going to come out of this either at 1-4. They're going to have to get a lot healthier very quick. Shout out to Matthew Stafford, though, for putting the team on his back once again and almost getting the victory there in that last had him there down the field at the end, but couldn't quite get it done. Congratulations to the Packers going on the road once again and getting another victory there for the Cheeseheads up in Wisconsin. You mentioned Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to talk about Jaden Daniels. You gave him his flowers. I totally agree. I'll let you kind of have that. I'm talking about Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland Browns are just a can we call this the worst quarterback situation in the league? Can we do that?
It's the worst quarterback situation in the league. It's the worst contract situation in the league. They are literally now. Hold on. Now, Deshaun Watson is not the only quarterback that's playing because of his contract. He's not the only one, and most quarterbacks are going to play. But quality play. I'm gonna keep saying this about Deshaun Watson. The last time Deshaun Watson played good football, he was with the Texans. That's the last time he played.
That guy's gone. That guy's gone.
And not only is that guy gone, sometimes because we've seen him in Houston, Smitty, sometimes we thinking, dude, like, come on. It's not. Now, I will say this. I heard Emmanuel Acho say something, and I'm going to say it too. The Cleveland Browns receivers do not like Deshaun. Deshaun be making some nice throws. Like Jerry Jeudy coming and Martin Cooper they be dropping the ball. It's like, dude, like Elijah, those guys, like, what are you guys doing? Like, because the thing about Deshaun Watson, once again, having to improvise, right? But the Cleveland Browns made it to the playoffs last year. Joe Flacco was the quarterback, not Deshaun Watson. And what's the difference in Deshaun Watson and Joe Flacco? It's the same difference in Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco, or Mason Rudolph and Will Levis. When you got guys that don't got the mobility with their legs, they just sit in the pocket. They go through their reads. They like, look, I can throw it 20 much faster than I can, run it 20. And I think the thing about Deshaun Watson is, while we know he's had that ability before, watching Deshaun Watson is rough because you like, dude, the Cleveland Browns offense now, you start saying, dude, just and now Nick Chubb is coming back.
Yes.
Chubb is coming back, right? But the thing is, Nick Chubb, they're not going to just give him a big workload because he's coming off of injuries. They're going to ease him back into it. But I'm not understanding the Deshaun Watson situation, Smitty, this offseason is going to be very, very interesting because he got a big contract with a lot of guaranteed money. I don't know how they get out of that. And unfortunately, that's going to hamstring them to be able to bring any type of quality player in there. Number one, paying a quality player, they got to go play in Cleveland. Let's just put it out there first. They got to play in Cleveland. Sir, you play here. Okay. Number two, we are not a storied franchise. The Cleveland Browns are not a storied franchise that's used to winning and winning consistently. Last year was an outlier. Even when Baker Mayfield was there and they popped open all them Bud Light machines, gave everybody free beer or whatever they was doing, they're outliers because we expect the Cleveland Browns to look like the Cleveland Browns. But for Deshaun Watson, Smitty, like I say, everybody want to think about Daniel Jones or, Bryce Young or Will Levis, even though he had a good game on Sunday, Trevor Lawrence. You give these quarterbacks all this money, they're around because of the money, not because of the play. Deshaun Watson got paid, and he was out of football at the time. He was dealing with off the field stuff. Now Daniel Mayalota, I think that's his agent. He is really, really good. He got him that money, but getting the money, Smitty, ain't the same as getting the production. How do you see this marriage between the Browns and Deshaun Watson ending?
That's hard to tell. I think he is very much a bench candidate very soon. I don't think that's going to happen yet, but I think it could be coming. If you have a couple more games like this, that could be coming. Do I think the marriage is going to end this offseason? No. Like you said, there's so many cap dollars connected to that. But I was going to actually ask you this question. I'll turn it back around to you, though. So I'll say no. I don't think it's going to end this year or this offseason. It may be maybe after next year, but to where but like you said, it's going to hamper their ability to bring people in. But I'm actually let me turn this around on you real quick before I go to the Panther Bear game. Do you think this is an ownership decision and that Kevin Stefanski wants to bench him, but and bring in Jameis Winston, but he can't because the ownership is saying no. We are paying Deshaun this money. You are playing him. End of story. Because Kevin Stefanski is 2 years removed from Coach of the Year. Like, he didn't just forget how to coach now. Like, he is a good coach. So, what is your thoughts?
I do think it's an ownership decision. I think it's Kevin Stefanski benches Deshaun Watson, and Jameis Winston comes in, plays. It ain't gonna take much to play better than Deshaun Watson at this point, but they still don't make the playoffs. Now in the offseason, right? You're talking about Stefanski's job and Deshaun Watson's job because no matter what, Stefanski is tied to Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
And the thing about Jameis Winston, former number 1 overall pick, he's a journeyman now. He's more of a, a lifelong backup. It's just such a, the worst situation to be in, Smitty, because number one, I don't know how much more guaranteed money. And just say you get rid of Deshaun, that's a lot of dead money. That's a lot. That's a lot of dead money.
We thought Russell Wilson was a lot in Denver. This makes that look really bad.
I think the thing now, I will say this about Deshaun Watson. You don't have to worry about a contract like this from a player at the quarterback position who's been out of football ever happening again. Cleveland thought they was doing something, right? They was like, let's get Deshaun Watson. He's gonna have to get there. Houston was gonna have to give him a big deal. Yeah, but he was out of football. Like, the game of football is not one of those things that you could be out for a year is too long. 2 years is even longer. And then you start talking about, but they try to help him. When Nick Chubb is in the lineup, the Cleveland Browns are a much better team. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. They give him Jerry Jeudy in the offseason, coming from Denver. You talking about Amari Cooper. You talking about Elijah Moore. You talk about, David Njoku and all these pieces. But when Deshaun Watson is not doing his part, it don't matter. You could throw all that stuff to the wind. Because like I say, when Cleveland went to the playoffs last year, it was because of Joe Flacco, which lets me know Joe Flacco is a better option for the Colts over Anthony Richardson, for the Browns over Deshaun Watson. And that's what hurts you is the guy you either have already paid or you want to become the franchise. They just not it, because once again, athleticism will only get you. Athleticism gets you all you need as long as you can play the quarterback position. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what's wrong with him. And Anthony Richardson, even though, Joe Flacco was there, these guys hamper your ability to call plays because they want to improvise. They want to use their athleticism. Man, just play the position. Because like I say, I don't know what's going to happen this offseason, Smitty, but they're going to have to get real creative because when they made this decision, everybody says you look crazy if it doesn't work out. And that's what we're saying. Now, had it worked out, it was, oh, man, great, great job. But there's a reason why certain organizations are bad, and there's a reason why certain organizations are good, and it all comes down to how they spend money. Look at the best teams spend money wisely. Bad teams throw money at good players, hoping that those good players can help change the culture. And if you ain't got a good coach, a good quarterback, and a good culture, it's not going to work. I don't know how good Coach Stefanski is. I know he's not bad. The culture in Cleveland doesn't exist. They do not have a culture in Cleveland, and the quarterback is bad. So you right now you 1 for 3, and that's why you're in the position that you're in.
Yeah, quarterback carouseller for the Cleveland Browns since 1999. Some of their fans know it well. Panthers Bears. All right, as a Panther fan, let me get this off my chest. This is a safe space. I know I can say this with the utmost confidence here. So, as a Panther fan, for those who are watching and know the term blood and guts, this was when Steve Smith went to the Baltimore Ravens. He saw the Carolina Panthers on the schedule, and he said, this game's going to be blood and guts. Get ready. Yep. And that's exactly what it was against the Panthers that day, back in 2014. Now, DJ Moore didn't exactly have a blood and guts game, but he scored 2 tutties. Granted, one was on a busted coverage, still counts. And the other one was a nice throw by Caleb Williams. Perfect, good coverage by Michael Jackson, why we didn't have J.C. Horn was not on him, I do not know, but is what it is. Outside of those two catches for touchdowns, I thought DJ Moore did not do very much against the Panthers at all. But the Panthers, this is what frustrates me as a fan. And I'm going to talk realistically. I'm not going to – this is with my fandom talking and also being realistic. I did not expect the Panthers to make the playoffs this year. At the beginning of the year, I said this team had a floor of 6 wins, ceiling of 8, maybe 9, if everything broke for it. Now, with these injuries, I'm revising it to maybe 5 as the floor, and the ceiling maybe 6, 7. Ben, injuries are very hard to overcome in this league. Don't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are, what team. You can have all the right pieces, but injuries take a toll on every team. With the Carolina Panthers in this format, they went up 7-0. Chuba Hubbard, 38-yard touchdown run, untouched almost. Beautiful run. And then like the Panthers do, 30 straight points against the Bears to then lose ultimately 36-10. Now, here's what I'll say. The Panthers were in this game. They were down 14-7, and the change of events happened on the Tommy Tremble fumble where he got absolutely rocked. Legal play, but he got absolutely rocked. He's in concussion protocol, not surprising whatsoever. Short field, touchdown. Next possession, 4th and 3 in the no man's land. Incomplete. Goes for another touchdown. That was the second DJ Moore touchdown, up 27-7. They add one more field goal in the third quarter to make it 30-7. And at that point, the Panthers are out of the game. Dave Canales came out today and said he abandoned the run too early. And I agree. He definitely did in the second quarter. This is him part of being a first-year head coach. He's going to learn. He's going to continue to take his lumps and bruises, but also learn being a head coach in the National Football League. Now, let me give you a number. 62% of the Panthers starting defense is on IR.
Wow.
62. That is either IR out for the season or IR intent to return. Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson, both gone for the year. Jordan Fuller, safety, IR, designated to return. Jadeveon Clowney left the game. He's going to be fine, but he left the game in the third quarter. Shy Tuttle came back, but he's been a liability in the middle, unfortunately, for the Panthers. Josie Jewell missed this game as well. And then on offense, Panthers already benched Bryce Young, as we all know. Aiden Dalton playing decently well, except for last night. Taylor Moton, right tackle, left the game. Center Austin Corbett left the game. Xavier Legette, rookie receiver, outside of number 2 to Deontay Johnson, left the game. All of these injuries for the Carolina Panthers, with a young team, like you said, trying to establish a culture, trying to they're going to take their lumps this year, but trying to establish a culture under first-year head coach. Is Bryce Young the future? Is Andy Dalton a bridge for next year? We obviously don't know all these things yet. But when you make little mistakes like the fumble, don't convert on a 4th down in no man's land, those things are going to add up in the National Football League, but especially for a team like the Panthers who are young in certain spots and also injured out the wazoo on defense. And the defense is not on the field, is constantly out on the field. So all that to say is the Panthers' next 3 games, your Atlanta Falcons, at Washington, at Denver, all very winnable games for the Panthers. But like every young team in the league, can they stop putting themselves in danger by doing self-inflicted wounds like your fumble, like your 4th down in no man's land? I particularly did not like the play call there either. And I mean, because a perfect storm, they went up 7-0. They took the lead. They played with the lead early. You'd like to think a young team like that should be able to kind of take the bull by the horns and kind of continue into the game. So, what is your thoughts on this Panthers team long-term, the rest of the season? Injuries, as you know, the famous phrase the coaches like to say, they're not going to come rescue it. They're not going to cancel the games. Games are still going to be played. So, what's the message, to a team like the Panthers, like a team like we'll throw the Rams in there, throw the Bengals in there that had some injuries, that are just beat the heck up You're not going to get rescued. Games are still going to be played. It's next man up. But a team like the Panthers, for example, it seems like some of the talent deficiencies at certain positions on defense, we say next man up, but sometimes the talent's just not there. And I think that's what's partly doing the Panthers a disservice right now. In fact, I looked this up today. In the past 6 drafts from 2019 to 2024, this past draft, 18 out of 40 players on the roster still. 18 out of 40.
I mean,
the reason this team is in the position they are in is because of the lack of depth over the past 6 years that has not been accumulated due to bad drafting outside of the first round. I will let you go ahead.
I would say the biggest problem for the Carolina Panthers is going to be identity, because they don't really have one. I think because most of the time when you think about a team, you'll say they need to get back to something. They need to get back to running the football. They need to get back to throwing the football. They need to get back to stifling defense. Well, the thing about the Panthers is they don't really have an identity nowhere when you start talking about it. I remember before we started doing Win the Division, you was talking about J.C. Horn, right? And the caliber player he is at the cornerback position. He's going to make a name for himself this year. You talk about, Shaq and how long he, one of the longest tenured players at, with Carolina. He's out. You start talking about Derek Brown getting his contract extension in the offseason. He's out. You start talking about a guy like Chuba Hubbard, who, I'm looking at Chuba's numbers.
Free agent at the end of the year, by the way.
13 rushes, 97 yards, 1 touchdown, 7.5 yards a play, and you got away from the run. So let me get this straight. What is working for you, you get away from it. What's not working for you, you continue to do it. Andy Dalton, 18 for 28, 136 yards and a pick. Bryce Young, 4 for 7, 58 yards. The thing about the Carolina Panthers, which I'm going to always say, is when you don't have an identity, anyone will fit. Anyone someone gives you will fit that day. Now, the one thing about Carolina's keep pounding. Now, that's going to mean a lot of things. Keep pounding now is going to mean, one, dude, we got a lot of young players. And when I say young, I mean inexperienced. That's going to have to play key roles now. So players that were starting on special teams are not starting on offense, not starting on defense. And they got to play. And I think the thing about Carolina this year, Smitty, is this. Coach Canales is right, wrong, and different. You bench the number 1 overall pick, even though he's a year 2, for Andy Dalton.
Yep.
You address your offensive line. I saw it on Camp Confidential in the offseason, right? Your offensive line blocking is pretty freaking good, pass blocking. But here's what I would say about Carolina receivers. Are they separated? Some games they are, some games they aren't. And the thing about the passing game, it's always going to come down to winning matchups. I like Thompson, I like Leggett and those guys, but they got to separate. But then when your defense is so depleted and you start having this, instead of saying the next man up, is who's next? Who's next to get hurt? So many guys have gotten hurt. It's unfair to any football team, whether that's the smallest level there is to the highest level there is. Your best players are your starting 11. Anytime you start going deeper to the depth chart, talking about number 2, possibly number 3, going into see who's available, as far as like free agents. This is going to be a long year for Carolina. It was going to be a long year if everybody stayed healthy. But now it's going to be an even longer year because we're going into week 6, and we don't know what the identity of the Carolina Panthers are, who always say keep pounding. That's going to mean a lot of things depending on who you ask. But they're going to have to be a pro about it. As a person, when I got drafted in 2004, back when we still had 16 games, we went 4-12 my rookie year. We won 4 games. My second year, we won 5. We went from 4-12 to 5-11. So we improved by 1 game. Now, by the time I left the Titans, we was making the playoffs. I say that to say they're going to have to just keep chopping wood. They're going to have to just put their head down and say, look, I go back to the first game of the year with Gerard Mayo, and the Patriots. Nobody saw them win anything, and they won some games, right? They're going to have to decide, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to stick to. And I think the best way to do it, run the ball. Because in running the football, you're establishing a mentality, which is going to open up for the passing game, which makes the game go faster, which I'm going back to my strength. Troupe Hubbard can run the rock. Go back to college now. He can run the rock, right? Those receivers are going to need help with the play action. Those receivers are going to need help with those safeties because the more you run the ball, those safeties get closer to the line of scrimmage. The more you throw the ball, they back up. So we're going to need them to kind of play one high instead of two high because you keep running the ball, they're not going to play two safeties high. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, the last thing Carolina needed was injuries and benching their starting quarterback, and they've done both. They injured. They did no injuries on defense. They've already, and Bryce Young, listen, he's no longer the problem because he's been out there for like a couple of weeks now. But establishing their identity and running the football, Smitty, I think is something they're going to have to do. And like I say, when it comes to the play calling, a lot of it has to do with, hey, man, we got to be able to separate. Because like you mentioned, Atlanta, the Commanders, these aren't world beaters. But Atlanta's defense is good. Simmons and Bates, they might be the best safety tandem in the National Football League right now. The Commanders are playing with a lot of confidence, especially at the quarterback position. But that's why we play. But I do want to see the Panthers reestablish themselves as a contender. And I'm not talking about going to the playoff. I'm talking about being respected because when you on a bad team, you just wait on the ball to drop every game. Like you playing well. Listen, Chuba comes out, touchdown. They don't even give him the ball anymore. Like what? And by the time you give him the ball, it doesn't matter. Well, at this time, it doesn't matter at this point. Find what you do well. I know you brought some road graders in there. Let them take out some frustration on these D linemen and see what happens. Because I think if I had an identity to talk about Carolina, I would. But because I don't know what their identity is, they got to figure that out, and they're gonna have to figure it out in a hurry because we only in week 6. We got a long season ahead of us.
Yeah, well, it is running the football. That is the end of the Carolina Panthers is stopping the run and running the football, which we ain't stopping anything right this year with those injuries. But running the football is the mentality of the Carolina Panthers. Troupe Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, I think is going to be back in a couple weeks. Rookie out of Texas, he's nice now. We'll see what happens with him going forward. One last thing on the Panthers, I will say, with Shaq Thompson going down, Trevin Wallace made his first career start for the Carolina Panthers. He is the only Panther to record 15-plus tackles in a single game as a rookie, except for Luke Kuechly.
I was about to say, Luke Kuechly, they say Luke Kuechly tackled the doctor that delivered him. They said, it's a boom. He just jumped up. Luke Kuechly was built to play linebacker. Like when people, the best linebacker I've ever seen in college football was Luke Kuechly. And when he got to Carolina, his career, Luke Kuechly's career and Patrick Willis' career, I put them right. Them boys was something serious, but listen, I want to see the Carolina Panthers do well. I don't want to see them do well two games out the year against my Falcons, yeah. But I still want them to do well because I think that the only thing that creates confidence is winning.
Yeah.
Executing and winning. And it comes execution first and winning second, because when you execute, you put yourself in a position to win. And when you don't execute, well, we already know what the downside that is. But like you just said, run the football, keep Andy Dalton ahead of the chains, because that defense is going to need to be able to play either with the lead or be in the contention. Because you start talking about getting down by double digits. Now that's going to take the run. That's going to take the run away from Carolina, which is going to force them into some predictable situations with these defenses. And because, like I said, Xavier Legette, I'm still wanting to see him break out. I think
it's coming.
Like Malik Neighbors and like Johnson. Like Thomas up there. With Jacksonville, you talk about Aduze. Up there. With Chicago. I want to see Xavier Legette break out, because if he does, maybe he could be being as young as he is, be a spark. For an offense that's definitely lacking one right now.
Well, good thing for my Panthers, we are not the only 1-4 team out there. You've got, Browns, Patriots, Rams, Bengals, among others. Titans probably going to be 1-4 after next week. So a lot of teams in the company of 1-4, so definitely not alone for the Panthers. Those are the games that stuck out to me. I will say really quick, favorite name. This is a random thing for the podcast listeners. My favorite name in the NFL, there's a lot of them. And last year, my number one was Puka Nacua. This year, Andrew Van Ginkel. Oh my gracious, I love that guy.
And I want to say Andrew Van Ginkel has more. They say like he got more touchdowns than Tyreek Hill, and he got a crazy stat. And Van Ginkel, he got famous off of Hard Knock with the Dolphins. Got famous down there. Then ends up had to deal with some injuries down there. Like Phillips and those guys got injured, so he had to go. And Phillips, who was back on IR again. For the Dolphins. Now he's out there with the undefeated Vikings. They undefeated. Picked off Aaron Rodgers and took it to the Chris Nail. Shout out to Van Ginkel, man. Get out there with still sporting the long hair. Hey man, him and his barber don't get along because he don't have a barber. Ain't nobody cutting his hair.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for Sam Darnold to play less than what he's doing now. He is absolutely torching this league. And as a former Panthers quarterback, I just love to see it for him getting his due under Kevin O'Connell. Well, before we get into the injuries, transactions, overreactions, let's preview week 6 and get to our top 5 games. And then we'll end with some transactions, injuries out the door. 49ers Seahawks to start week number 6 down in Seattle, or I should say up in Seattle, rather, in the Pacific Northwest, 8:15 on Prime Video on Thursday night with the guys out there. Talk to me, Ben, what you're trying to see in this game. 49ers coming at 2-3, Seahawks at 3-2. Big game for these 49ers, now sitting at under 500. And it also for the Seahawks, too. I mean, this is an opportunity for them to kind of prove that those 3 wins weren't a fluke against some lesser opponents. And now they're playing the 49ers at home.
I really want to see if this Seattle team, can they bounce back? Obviously, a really, really bad loss against a New York Football Giants team, and obviously, San Francisco trying to bounce back from a better than advertised Arizona, Cardinals team right now, but they're kind of ahead of schedule as well. Arizona probably should have won their first game of the year, but they've been able to bounce back. The thing about San Francisco's offense is they can run the football, but it's almost like they're trying to validate Brock Purdy and him still, him throwing the football around to Ayuk and Samuels and George Kittle and company. And I think for Seattle is, establishing themselves because they got a good offense as well. I mean, Seattle got a good offense. DK Metcalf, I mean, he looked like a freaking action figure. I think for me, listen, get back to that rivalry. There's no longer the days of Richard Sherman, Thomas, those guys. The Legion of Boom and all that kind of stuff. But I think since both teams need a win, it should make for a really, really good matchup. I still give the nod. I still think San Francisco is a better team than Seattle. I think Seattle might be better coached because I like Kyle Shanahan. I don't love Kyle. Obviously, I used like Kyle Shanahan.
He's addicted to his play sheet at times.
He is, and I think sometimes for San Francisco gets the nod because we just expect them to be what they've been the last couple of years. They're not the same team, whether through injury or losses. The way in which San Francisco cannot hold leads. They've lost 2 games with the lead. Teams coming back from behind to beat them. But I am looking for Seattle to get back. It's going to be a back and forth affair, but I think Seattle's defense can come up with a big turnover, and hopefully Geno Smith can find a way to carve a secondary for San Francisco that's good, not great. I think Seattle might have a shot to get a nice win, which both teams need one at this point.
They both do. Well, let's get into it, Ben. Our top 5 games of week number 6. I went first week. You went first last week. I'm going to go first this week. So number 5 on this list, let's go to Lambeau. The Cardinals versus the Packers in Lambeau Field. The Arizona Cardinals are a very frisky team this year. Both teams trying to get to 500 for the Cardinals and the Packers to 4-2. But Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray, lethal combo as we saw this past week against the 49ers. Can they travel to Lambeau and take the show on the road and give Jordan Love another loss to his resume this year? And I think this is going to be a great game. I'm expecting a lot of points in this game, and I think this might be a shootout sneaky in this game. Number 4 on this list, Buccaneers Saints down in the Superdome. We love when these two teams get together in the NFC South. Baker Mayfield and company going to put on a show, I think, in the Dome. Derek Carr and company on a short week after the Kansas City Chiefs game, which they are currently losing, I believe, 16-7 at halftime. And so this is going to be a challenge for the Saints short week, but it is at home. These teams always play each other pretty close. I think this is going to be a nail-biting game in the NFC South. Number 3 on this list, this might be a little bit of a homer pick. No, I'm just kidding. This is not the Panthers. Not homer. America likes this game, I think. Lions-Cowboys. Number 3 on this list. I think people probably thought I'd put it higher, but no. Number 3 on this list is Lions-Cowboys down in Jerry's World. Lions coming off the bye week. Cowboys coming off that close victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football with the rain delay last night. This is going to be a chance for the Lions to show off their flexing on the road. Micah Parsons, we'll see if he comes back this week or not. Jared Goff should get a bunch of players healthy coming off the bye for the Lions. And this team, I think, is going to inflict some damage. I think the Lions are going to win this game pretty handily, actually. I do not think this is going to be a wire game. I think the Lions are going to win by about 7 to 10 points. So a little prediction there. Number 2 on this list. So I struggled whether to put this number 1, but I'm going to put this as number 2. Trevor Lawrence versus Caleb Williams has the potential to be pretty good. In London, we've got at 9:30 a.m. Jaguars-Bears. Jacksonville trying to go for 2 in a row. Caleb Williams, DJ Moore and company making their first trip over to London and trying to get to 4-2 on the year. Trevor Lawrence can play well when he wants to. The key word is when he wants to. I think this is going to be a pretty sneakily good game, and I expect both teams to play well. Can the Jaguars establish a winning streak? Shad Khan owns a soccer team over there. He does not like to get embarrassed. He wants to show himself and his soccer-loving fans over there a good time. Number 1 on this list, Commanders, Ravens. I had to do it. Jalen Daniels versus Lamar Jackson. Must-see television. Why? This is a 1 o'clock game. Well, I can tell you why. Because the Sunday Night Football producers said no to flexing out the Giants-Bengals. And I think America takes the L for that one, unfortunately, as there's not going to be a primetime matchup for this. But if Jaden Daniels can beat Lamar Jackson, I will officially be on the Commanders bandwagon. My coworker, who is a Commanders fan, she happens to tell me every day the Commanders are going to the Super Bowl, Ryan. And I said, let's pump the brakes there. But I told her today, I said, if the Commanders beat the Ravens this week, you will have my attention. So we'll see if the Commanders can do so on 1 o'clock on Sunday in Baltimore against those Ravens.
My number 5, I'm gonna go ahead and get the homer pick out, but because it's funny, it's Colts Titans for this reason. I want to see if Anthony Richardson is gonna come back as a starter. They're gonna keep Joe Flacco, and I want to see if the Titans gonna go with Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, because I think Titans fans and Colts fans at this point, they want to win games, not just have athletic guys at the quarterback position. So I'm really intrigued to see those games. I'm really intrigued to see who's going to be at the quarterback position, Colts, Titans. My number 4, Jags and Bears in London. Here's the thing. The Jags, listen, if it was up to Mr. Khan, the Jags would be the London Jaguars. If it was up to him. It's not up to him, by the way. Ain't nobody trying to have no 8 games a year in London and 7 games, and 9 games over here in the States. But I agree with everything you said. I think Trevor Lawrence, when he wants to play well, he is incredible. Problem is, he didn't want to play for like the last, almost going back to last year. He wanted to play good like the last 10 games. And I think Caleb Williams is starting to find his stride. He has a really, really good defense, really, really good defense. And I think that he's playing, with DeAndre. He get the ball to DeAndre Swift. You talk about Keenan Allen. You talk about DJ Moore. You talk about Roman. Dude say he has a lot Cole Kmet, those guys. He got a lot of weapons. I'm looking forward to see the Jags because there is a defensive tandem known as Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. If you haven't seen those two guys, they're really, really good. Trayvon Trevor Walker had two sacks last week, but I think it's going to be a good one. My number 3, Bills Jets, for this reason. What's going on with the Bills? What in the world is going on with the Jets? The Bills are supposed to be, just run away with this, with this division, this AFC East division. They're supposed to just run away with it. Everybody thought the Jets Super Bowl picks because they got Aaron Rodgers. Stop playing on me. The same thing I said about the Browns is what I said about the Jets. The Browns ain't got no identity. The Jets don't got no identity. Only difference in the Jets and the Browns spell out their name every time. J-E-T. Okay, well, it got 54 letters. It ain't hard. It ain't hard to spell it out. But I just want to see, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. Look, I think it's on Monday night. I want to see the Jets because you got 2 really, really good defense. Sauce Gardner coming over there with that defense go over against the Bills. I want to see that. My number 3. My number 2, Lions, Cowboys. Dak Prescott is a really, really good quarterback. You know who plays for the Cowboys but never really get to play? That was Zeke Elliott. He still plays for the Cowboys.
He is? I didn't know that.
No. He didn't play for him last year. But you kind of see but listen, Zeke is just out there. Zeke, maybe when we first saw Zeke, he cut his shirts off to show off his abs. No, he don't do that no more. Because Zeke barely plays because he can't move. And listen, and just type in Zeke Elliott numbers. He got some really, really good numbers, but that's young Zeke. That's not after he got paid Zeke. But I agree. But I think the Lions offense is deadly. I think with Jared Goff and St. Brown, those guys get going. They are hard. With Jameer Gibbs, they are hard to deal with. 2 dome teams. They're going to be in Jared's world. I think it's going to be a really, really good one. And my number 1 is your number 1.
Yeah.
Commanders and Ravens. Jaden Daniels is must-see TV. If he ain't the number 1 selling jersey in the NFL right now, people just hating. Because the guy is instant offense. And I guarantee you, Jaden Daniels was a Lamar Jackson fan. Not because they both play quarterback, but because Lamar Jackson is who Jaden Daniels wants to become. Why? One of the potential faces of the league, 2-time regular season MVP, already signed for a big contract, representing himself, by the way. Shout out to Lamar Jackson representing himself. But Jaden Daniels is playing with, what's the word I'm looking for? Swag. I mean, he dripping. The young man is nice right now. It looked like he's having fun out there. And like I said, I'm already on the Jaden Daniels bandwagon coming from, me and Smitty are both, Florida Gator fans. Unfortunately had a chance to see Jaden Daniels against our Gators when he was at LSU and the rest of the league. But I do think that the Commanders against the Ravens, because the one thing about that Ravens defense, they're going to have a plan for Jaden Daniels. Doesn't mean it's going to work. But they're going to try to find a way, Roquan Smith and those guys, they're going to try to find a way to make Jaden Daniels look like a rookie because up until this point, he hasn't looked like it. But I am looking forward to Ravens, Commanders, the young gun. Even though Lamar Jackson's still very young, here's the key to the game: give the ball to Derrick Henry. That's the game plan. Get the ball to Derrick Henry. Let's see if those Commanders really want to play football today. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to those 5. And like I say, to people that got to get up early to watch the Jags and the Bears, I think it's going to be fireworks. I think it's going to be good. Because now, used to have 1 game overseas. Now we got 4 or 5 a season. We got double headers on Monday night. But I think we got a good slate of games. That's what I'm looking forward to, my top 5.
All right. Well, that is our top 5 list for week number 6. Hoping to get a sponsor on that soon. More to come on that front. Let's get to the injuries, transactions, overreactions. Let's get into the overreactions, Ben, before we get into some transactions. What are you overreacting to this week, Ben? Let's just start there. What's something you were overreacting to?
What am I overreacting to this week? Oh man. Oh, this one. Okay. This is what I'm overreacting to it because I think everybody's overreacting to it. Had a little skirmish on the sideline, and I'm talking about the Denver Broncos sideline, which they won Bo Nix and Sean Payton. And Bo Nix, he kind of feels himself a little bit. This is what he's really saying. He's telling Sean Payton, "Why the hell these plays so long, man? Why these plays so long? Just if I want to run to the right, call the play to the right. Why we got to call, double slide? You know what I'm saying? Double slide slant." Fake halfback slant. We're just running the ball to the right. And Bo Nix, when a quarterback, even if he's a rookie quarterback, is talking trash to his head coach, that's a good thing. For this reason. I don't want to go along and get along, yes, person at the quarterback position. I want you to have a little pushback. It's not like Sean Payton can bench him because he's playing well. It's not like Sean Payton is considered. Sean Payton will be considered a good coach if and when Bo Nix pans out and they keep winning. Because since he left New Orleans, it's been a little iffy, right? People listen. The Sean Payton situation is and Drew Brees the same thing we say about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Was it Tom or was it Bill? Well, when Tom left, Bill went. And since Sean Payton is no longer, since Drew Brees no longer with Sean Payton, he's kind of. So I think, and obviously, the skirmish with J.C. Horn, everybody like, oh, these players out here fighting. Let me tell you something. I can put J.C. Horn. He's throwing hands. He's frustrated now. It's probably a little too much of a frustration because he's probably frustrated for a lot of reasons. But I like the physical fight in J.C. Horn and whoever his lady is, because he's gonna get fined. Oh yeah. You throw punches, you're gonna have to pay some money, JC, and that's spelled Jaycee. But I think people be overreacting, and I don't think people are reacting enough to the situation I talked about earlier with George Pickens. George Pickens, be a pro, man. Grow up. I mean, we all want to do those type of things. Putting the people face masks, that's a double loss. So you lost the game. Now your pocket's going to be at a loss because you about to get fined.
Okay, that's good. My overreaction is the Davante Adams trade rumors. I think we're just overreacting to a bunch of this. And is he going to the Saints? Is he going to the Jets? Is he going somewhere else? Listen, if I'm the Steelers, I call up Tom Telesco and I say, can we just trade George Pickens for Davante Adams straight up? Would you guys do that?
Oh my God!
Would you guys do that?
Now hold on now. Listen, now, let me say something. If that happens, you heard it here first on Win the Division. Hold on. Who did you say again?
I said if the Steelers call up the Las Vegas Raiders and say, would you trade us Davante Adams for George Pickens straight up?
Listen, now let me say this. That's not because they said they want a second round pick, I think, and obviously they want a player. Number one, let me tell you who George Pickens is starting to be. Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool was over there with the Steelers. He had
Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson been on his good behavior with the Panthers so far.
Here's the thing. Davante Adams can still get it done. Davante Adams want two things. He wants a quarterback and a winning team. He want both now. He want both. Justin Fields, he's going to just throw it to Davante because Davante has earned it. George Pickens. If that does happen, hey, that just means that Mike Tomlin and the Rooney family, they still understand we want to bring in good players. We don't want to bring in players that's going to give us a headache. And it's it's going to be hard to not see Davante Adams in the silver and black. I just don't want Davante Adams to go to the Jets. Because it's the reunion.
I don't want him to go to the Saints as a Panthers fan. I do not want that.
I don't want him going nowhere in it. Now, if he ends up with the Panthers, Smitty be like, I'll take him. Yeah. What? Davante Adams. Hold on. Davante, how you doing? You want me to tell me? What's gonna hurt is Davante Adams is still owed a lot of money. A lot. And he's still a good player, still a really, really good player. He's a very, very efficient football player. He's not who he used to be, but he can still get open. Hey, they saying that the Raiders are starting to get impatient. Antonio Pearson comes and saying, look, man, let's hurry up and get this done. You don't want to be here. We don't want players that don't want to be here. Let's find a way to get this done sooner rather than later. And we'll see where he ends up. But, hey, man, straight up, Pickens for Adams, I think you make that trade. Win a second-round pick, I think you make that trade.
Man, just throwing that out there. I tend to do that sometimes. I just throw it out there.
We breaking news over here on Win the Division. Let's do it.
Yeah, yes, we are. Something we're underreacting to, not talking about enough. Rashee Rice and the Kansas City Chiefs with his injury. It looks like he is going to be out for the season now with his LCL, LCL, not his ACL or PCL. Now, granted, even if he's out for the whole year, there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to have to do differently for the Kansas City Chiefs. We're talking about Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes. As long as those two guys are still in lockstep, this team still has a chance to three-peat.
Yeah,
I get it. Rashee Rice is a big loss. Yes, he is. This is a guy, a head coach, Andy Reid, who, let's take out Patrick Mahomes for a second. Best statistical year of his career when he had Michael Vick, when he had Donovan McNabb, when he had Alex Smith, when he had Kevin Cobb, when he had the other quarterback that I can't think of his name right now, Brady Quinn, when he was down there in Kansas City. All of those, some of those more named than others, but all of those guys had their best career year when they were with Andy Reid and his offense, whether in Philadelphia or in Kansas City. As long as those two guys are still bread and butter on that Kansas City Chiefs sideline, they are going to be just fine. It's going to look differently, and that's a sign of a good team. Listen, we knew the Patriots dynasty. We knew how they knew how to win. But they won with Tom and Belichick kind of doing their thing. With Kansas City, one day it might be Mahomes to Kelsey. Next, it might be Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. Next, it might be the defense stopping Bijan Robinson, on fourth down. Next, it might be, Isaiah Pacheco. One day, it might be Carson Steele. Like, this team has different ways of winning every single week, and that is what makes this team so hard to beat, because they will constantly find different ways to win.
I know up there in Buffalo, they're saying things like they got this new offense that they don't care who get the ball. They just want to win. No, Kansas City just wants to win. Like, literally, listen, Kansas City says, listen, we don't care who gets game balls. We don't care who has the most stats. Kansas City was winning. Kansas City is undefeated, and Travis Kelce just started catching the ball these last couple of games. He wasn't even catching it the first 2 or 3 weeks. Chris Jones still can't be blocked, right? Reed out there at the safety position, he's coming up making plays. Nick Bolton, one of the best linebackers in the NFL that no one talks about, and these guys are talking, and they got rings all over their fingers, from AFC championships to the Super Bowls. We talked about the Cleveland Browns, not having a culture, right? We talk about these teams that don't have a culture. What is the culture in Kansas City? Winning it all. So much so that, when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, we expect them to win. When Kansas City loses, it's like, even though not to throw no shade, it's like Vanderbilt beating Alabama. That doesn't happen. It happened on Saturday. When Kansas City loses, we give credit to the fact that we say the Kansas City didn't play well, not the other team played better, because they don't lose often, and Kansas City don't care about going undefeated. They know they're going to lose a couple of games, but Kansas City says this: in a one-game win-all, we believe in us. We believe in us, and yeah, Andy Reid, give him his flowers. I mean, great coach when he was over there with the Eagles. Go to Kansas City with Alex Smith, right? And then when you start talking about the pieces that they put together, I don't know. I don't know what's in the sauce in Kansas City. I just know that these guys believe in each other. They believe in who's. Listen, they usually introduce the whole team. I got a chance to play Kansas City one time in Kansas City. They'll say the quarterbacks, the running back. They'll introduce the whole team. They'll say, and the home of the Chiefs or whatever. But yeah, I agree with what you said, Smitty. Andy Reid says, listen, I got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, let me say this. Patrick Mahomes don't win with anybody, but he could. Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes got Travis Kelce. They got Chris Jones in that defense. And they got an aura about themselves that said, look, man, give us your best. Lamar Jackson, bring him. Joe Burrow, bring him. Josh Allen, bring him. Jared Goff, bring him. San Francisco, bring him. And they say, look, we didn't say we can't be beat, but we look different, right? Don't watch us play somebody else. Judge us when we play you. Don't judge us on what somebody else did, because Detroit beat them opening game of the year in 2023. They lost to Detroit. Who held up the Lombardi? Oh, that would be Kansas City. The only person that Patrick Mahomes has lost to in the Super Duper is the GOAT. That would be Tom Brady. He ain't lost to nobody else. And I ain't looking to lose nobody else either. I don't care if your first name Lamar, last name Jackson, first name Josh, last name Allen. Bring all of them, and I'll knock them down one by one. And that's what he's doing. And he don't got to be the most mobile quarterback. When it comes to improvising and throwing that rock, I don't know if it's hard to say anybody can do it better than 1-5 that play for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Last thing, and before we get out of here, let's go over some injuries and transactions throughout the headlines and throughout the week as we get into week number 6 here of the NFL season. First, for the injuries, Chiefs more optimistic, as we talked about on Rashid Rice's knee. Looks like his LPL injury is going to keep him out most likely for the rest of the season, but still kind of inconclusive on that. Panthers center Austin Corbett out with a torn biceps. Panthers injuries just keep on coming for the Carolina Panthers. Cardinals lose guard Will Hernandez out for the rest of the season as well with a left knee injury. Not talking about specifically what that injury is. And finally, Cooper Kupp expected back soon for the LA Rams, but not sure when that's going to be. Maybe after the week 6 bye coming up this week. So what are your thoughts on the injuries that I just mentioned?
Obviously, Rice's situation is one that's not really going to hurt Kansas City outside of who they're going to bring in at receiver to replace him. Cooper Kupp is obviously going to be the biggest name on this list because when you think about what he means to that Rams offense, he is instant offense. Once the best duo in football, and it's just beautiful to watch, is Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp. They'll take a game over. Go back to the Super Bowl. Only thing Jared Goff didn't have that Matthew Stafford did when Sean McVay went to the Super Bowl was Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was injured the first Super Bowl. He was healthy the second time they went. They didn't score no points when Cooper Kupp wasn't in the first Super Bowl. He was the Super Bowl MVP when they played in the second Super Bowl. So, yeah, Cooper Kupp, incredible player to watch. Get well, sir. Looking forward to seeing you back out
there. And some transactions to get us out the door for this year. Or the week of week 6. Lawsuit against Deshaun Watson has been resolved. That case is private. Not going to release any details there, but a new case has been resolved lawsuit-wise for Deshaun Watson. Raiders are mulling a quarterback change. Not sure if Gardner Minshew will be starting. Could be Aiden O'Connell time in Las Vegas. Raiders coach Antonio Pierce not going to say one way or the other yet. Packers receiver Romeo Doubs is moving forward. According to head coach Matt LaFleur, he was suspended for this past week's game against the Rams due to personal reasons where he was complaining about his playing time. Jabril Peppers was charged with assault and a drug possession, a New England Patriots safety, Jabril Peppers, that is. And Bengals coach Zach Taylor today just came out and said he has not done a good enough job putting this team in position to win games with that 1-4 start. And Joe Burrow just flat out said, we're not a championship level football team, at this time.
I appreciate Joe Burrow with his honesty, not throwing shade at his team, throwing shade at himself, saying, look, we're not good enough as a team, me included. I don't want to hear about what I've done. I focus more on what I haven't done. The situation with Jabril Peppers is a very, very sad one because, I remember Jabril Peppers when I was living up in New Jersey. He's a New Jersey native, went to Michigan, had a nice career for himself. But situations like that, private situations that become public, you got to deal with it. We hope for the best. The Deshaun Watson situation is not a shocker to me. Settlements happen, and we wish the best for him in these situations that be coming up, and we wish the best for the victims in these situations. He is not a victim if he was committing these crimes. And the Dobbs situation up there with the Packers, it was a peculiar one because if you complain about playing time and then you not showing up and they having to suspend you because they said it was first it's personal reasons, then they suspend you. I don't believe they being, completely honest with us as far as I think they're trying to protect the player and the image of the player and the image of the team. But if you want to get more playing time, show up to practice. It's one thing to be late. It's another thing to not show up 2 days in a row. That is kind of detrimental to the team. Not only could you lose your money, you could lose your playing career. They can end up just as certain players that did this type of dumb stuff. But and to all the 1-4 teams, regardless of whoever, none of those coaches have done a good enough job to put their team in a position. And I'm looking forward to seeing those. Listen, you start 1-4, you spend the rest of the season trying to get to 500, but you're going to lose some games along the way. You spend the whole season trying to play catch up. No, the season isn't over starting 1-4, but it does make it does because they do it by quarters. We're in the second quarter of the season because we week 6. It does make the season harder because you're trying to spend the whole season trying to play catch up.
And I forgot to mention perhaps the most important headline of the entire news cycle. Kyler Murray partners with Call of Duty this week. That just came out. Yes, Kyler Murray announces he has partnered with Call of Duty. Can we overreact to that for just a second before
Listen,
we close?
shout out to Kyler Murray for being able to show these business transactions that happen off the field but are made public. Kyler Murray is saying, listen, say what you want about me. I'm partnering with a game that is global, not national. It is global. Shout out to him because, a lot of these players do try to put themselves in a position to be able to have, that money that goes well past their NFL playing days. Shout out to Kyler Murray partner with, Call of Duty. And like I said, who knows? Who going to partner with Fortnite? What? Who gonna partner with some of these other games that's really, really listen, I'm not a gamer for those of you who don't know. Fortnite, PUBG, I don't play none of them. But Call of Duty, hey, for people that play it, I heard it's very, very addictive. There's a grown man who just got off work about 10 minutes ago, probably got a whole gaming studio set up in his house, and he gonna go in there and say, wait a minute, why is Kyler Murray on the front of this Call of Duty? Oh, because he's just part. So shout out to Kyler Murray for finding a way to utilize real name and image likeness, because he's the starting quarterback in the National Football League. So that's not an overreaction. That's hey man, this is common. This is our common sense part of the show. It's common sense to partner with Call of Duty. You know what everybody else is saying? Man, I should have did that. Too late. Kyler is the man, and he's already done it. Shout out to him.
Well, it's also common sense, Ben, partnering with us here at Winning the Division. If you are listening, if you are just wondering what we're about, rate, review, subscribe so you never miss an episode. Listen to us every week, Monday night, and when we record. And we just are so excited to continue to do this together. This is Winning the Division. Ryan Smith alongside Ben Troupe. If you're either just in the division or you're winning the division, as we are here. And we will be back with another episode next week. Again, wherever you get your podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. And we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.